We live in a world of racial divide. Historians will teach about us in 2023 and tell of a world where Black people were still seen as second-class citizens. A world where Black women were concealed from leadership. A world where the majority of economic power was in the hands of white men. Whether you like it or not, this is the reality we live in today, in 2023. Green Park business leaders have reported that there are currently no Black CEOs at the top of British business. Houston, we've got a problem. So today, I will outline how together we can disrupt the absence of Black women at the top of corporate Britain by sharing 3 things. Firstly, why representation absolutely matters. Secondly, the agency and power we have as Black women. And thirdly, for all those of you in senior positions and in management, I'm coming for you. You have a duty to create an environment for Black women leaders to thrive. That's me, age 4. I was so cute. What happened? From that age, I realized society barely reflected my image. And growing up, those in leadership never looked like me. I was the quiet girl in the corner, perceived as less than smart, and never really considered to amount to much. Rejected from my peers, ignored by my teachers, and labeled by society as below average. In truth, I was sad, lonely, and depressed. Have you felt that way before? Right? It feels awful, doesn't it? Carrying the pain of rejection, disappointment, and not belonging for years until I had to make a decision that many women of color have also had to make. Would we rather live our lives judged solely due to the color of our skin and gender, or by the choices we make? Of course, right? We'd rather be judged by our own choices. See? If you haven't noticed by now, the snowy peaks of British business remain stubbornly white. Oops. You've got to thank Trevor Phillips for that colourful remark. Nevertheless, it is true. As a mental health and leadership expert, I have found that leadership positions have historically been reserved for white men. This is seen in the Black Woman in Leadership Network survey, stating nearly half of Black professional women truly believe they overlooked for promotions despite having equal competence as their white counterparts. Therefore, the ripple of impact is such that Black women across many generations received a signal that our voice and presence are insignificant to change things. Thus, we remain underrepresented at leadership level across all sectors. So, if you walk through the ivory towers of British business, you will immediately see the lack of visible presence of women of color. And within these spaces is where critical decisions are being made without our influence and input, where our voices go unheard, our faces remain hidden, but our hands remain callous from work placed on our backs. How do you feel? When your life is impacted by decisions you have no power to change? Annoyed? Frustrated? Downright angry? Because the resolutions that emerge from these unbalanced spaces ultimately shape the economy and the lives of Black women. When our voices are not considered, we are then left powerless to change the outcomes. You've all probably heard of the glass ceiling concept, right? Well, with the glass ceiling, it is transparent. you can see the barriers that block you. For Black women, we encounter a concrete ceiling, an opaque barrier that means that those at the top don't even notice we're down here. But despite this, we might stay down for a moment, but inevitably we rise as the sun dawns a new day. And in spite of the barriers that are before us, we harness resilience like a bulldozer cutting through the blockades in our path. So let's take a look at the first point, which is why representation matters. Now, more than ever, I want to challenge the absence of Black women on boards of companies, because we must recognize the importance of representation. When we enter the workforce and see a diverse array of workers and diversity at the leadership level, we automatically feel seen. We feel that we belong. And we even believe that promotions are actually attainable. Becoming a Black psychotherapist in a majority white middle-class profession, I am constantly navigating what it means to represent a devastatingly underrepresented group at the highest echelon as a Black female CEO. Having founded a multicultural counseling service that provides mental health therapy to inaccessible populations, I recognize I represent what it means to belong in a field that women of color were once excluded from. So how did I do this, I hear you ask? Well, firstly, I defied the odds. I persisted despite the resistance I faced. Secondly, I removed the mental limitations and doubts from my past that caused me to doubt my abilities. And last, but by no means least, I did not do this alone. I drew strength from my community's hope that women like us would smash the concrete ceiling and create a path for little Black girls to create their own seats at the leadership table. So let me ask you this. How are you showing up as a leader? Because there is no denying the impact representation has on the psyche of people. How do you feel when someone you are inspired by defies the odds? Excited, hopeful, empowered? The feelings that erupt when we see and feel represented empower us to break up our limitations and propel us into action. You are no different, whether position you are in, whether high or low. As long as you decide not to hide, but show up consistently and authentically and be an example to those that will inevitably come after you, that is representation. And that is why representation is important. So you can inspire a generation of people that you represent, that they belong here as well. Secondly, the power we have as Black women. We disrupt the status quo as Black women, and we refuse to remain at the bottom of the corporate ladder. If they do not give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair. Thank you, Shirley Chisholm, for your words of wisdom. But in my own words, if they do not give you a seat at the table, remember, you're the whole damn table. So Black women, it is time you take your voice back, narrate your own stories, and be curators of your own destiny, starting with future-proofing your career by investing in your own professional development with courses, online training, or further studying that enhances your skills, your knowledge, and your abilities. Seeking out opportunities for growth that stretch you and take you out of your comfort zone. Employing these methods as part of your strategy to future-proof your career will allow you to pivot into bigger and better opportunities as you circumvent the concrete ceiling. So at this point, it's not too late. or too soon for you to future-proof your career. Because at the end of the day, ultimately, you have to take responsibility for the choices you have made in your career. But don't get me wrong, there will be challenges. But it's how you progress despite the challenges that count. So let's start today. Be proactive and take risks. The final way to disrupt the lack of Black women leaders at the very top is for employers to take responsibility and action for their failures and their denial of the very issues Black women in corporate Britain face. We are tired of corporations' empty words. We are tired of their lip service. And we are downright tired of their empty rhetoric. The vast contribution of Black women in corporate Britain is unquestionable, but their opportunity to ascend is blocked. White leaders, allies, I am placing the responsibility at your feet to stop giving them excuses. We cannot find diverse talent. That lie does not work anymore. Open your eyes to see the plentiful Black women who, if given the opportunity, will excel into the leaders of tomorrow. Because right now, your excuses are now worthless. I cannot do this alone. Black women, we cannot do this alone. The solution is contingent on our cooperation. If you want to go fast, by all means, go alone. But if you want to go far, we must go together. Because this ain't a Black issue, nor is it a woman's issue. This is a societal issue. Now we know how we must disrupt the absence of Black women leaders at the top of corporate Britain. Remembering that, because you better have been paying attention. 1, representation matters. Because for many people, you cannot be what you have not seen before. 2, the power we have as Black women, especially when we take proactive action. And lastly, employees, you ain't off the hook. You are responsible for driving change. So it's time, as Black women, to reclaim our voice and on our journey to the highest position, become the hurricane to clear away the stubborn snowy peaks of British business. Because I want to live in a world where I am given the same opportunities as everybody else. Don't you? Let's not forget, we are the unparalleled force. Disruption begins with awareness. Disruption starts now. Whoever you are and whatever your role, disruption begins with you.